Hi, guys. Okay, Thursday night live again. We are now going to have another little chat. Good evening, Bear. Looks like we're going to get some rain tonight, Bear. Or at least that's the plan, I believe. 4 people watching. Cool. Craig, good evening. Randy, good evening. Carlos, good evening. See Walter. Hello to Sweden. Ken Albridge, good evening. Anthony, hello there. Mopar, good evening. Outdoor in Austria. Awesome. Good evening. 2020. Hello. Ted. Hello to Pennsylvania. How's the weather down there? It got a lot drier. It's only 36% humidity right now. Hoorah! That's the lowest humidity I've seen in months right now. And you could probably do a bow drill fire now. There's a low enough humidity. So hey. JB Caudell, good evening, brother. Hope things are going well for you. Randy, where's the link? You go to Geneva State Forest. Just do a search for that and it'll bring it up and it'll say get permit on there and you click on it, it'll take you to another website. So go to Geneva State Forest here in Alabama and it'll bring it up and you can just pay them. And you can set the date of when you want to do it. So, or you can pay that day from your phone out at the lake. So, Richard, hello. David R., hello from Slocum. Got you. Terry, good to see you. John Wright, hello there. Charlie, good evening. Ooh, I know. Up there at nights in the 50s and days in the 70s. Yes. We made it. Yes. Victory. We've gotten through it. Jeff, hello to Newfoundland, Canada. Oh, Carlos, I know. The humidity is going to be tough down there right now. Striker, good evening. Tim, hello to Eastern North Carolina. Patriot Preacher, good evening. DJ234, good evening. Tim Harper, hello to Oklahoma. James Singer, good evening. Metalworks Welding. You're carving a oak bowl. What's a good safe seasoning sealant for it? They make an actual stuff for that, but it depends on what the wood's made of, but you say you're carving it out of oak. Walnut oil, I believe, can be used for that. It's got to be something that's not going to go rancid. And if you got a Hobby Lobby or something like that, go look at it and do a search for food safe wooden spoon / bowl / mug sealant, and it should pop right up. I don't know the name of it. I know such thing exists because I've seen it used to pour on cutting boards and stuff. But I'd have to do a search just like you. I don't use them that much. Charles Martin, good evening. Patriot Preacher, food grade mineral oil, correct? That will work. Yeah. Striker, looking forward to it too. October's on the way, and hopefully it'll be cool, nice and cool. Kenny Howell, good evening. Butcher Black Oil, there's another one, yes. Sushi board and salad bowl finish. That's a good idea. Mr. Johnny, hello to Statesboro, Georgia. Oh, cool. Charles Martin turning an old snuff can into a match safe. My grandmother would occasionally, not often, maybe twice a week, something like that, tube rose snuff. Came in a little metal tin with a friction lid on it. And she kept this little bitty toy spoon that was used out of a little girl's toy set, you know. And that was her dipper. That was her measure. She'd put between her cheek and gum and sit there and you know, do snuff and spit. And that was her one indulgence. She didn't drink. She didn't do any of that other stuff. That was her one indulgence. So, but I had those little bitty tins for years. I used them for all kinds of stuff. Common Sense Karen, hello. Yeah, there's a lot of different tube rose snuff. The small one was in the metal tin. Then there was the big one, which was a small water glass. Remember, had a lid that friction fitted on top of it and had a peel off paper label around it. That was the tube. It was in a water glass. So Bear Ted liked your Tad liked your video on the Kaufman surplus boots. Oh yeah, Striker, you should have perfect down here for the October, etc. for the gathering. Rock 95, good evening. You know, is it selfish of me to hope we have a good, cool winter? We had snow this year. We had the blizzard of 25. It is only to dream that we will have cold enough weather conditions to have snow again, you know, this coming winter. So my wife was just in heaven. She got to get it actually stayed on the ground several days. Usually we get snow and it's gone in 24 hours because the ground temperature is too warm and it just melts. But it was cold enough, everything was in place, and for up to a week you could still find it. For 3 or 4 days it was everywhere, all over everything. They'd shut down the roads. But a full week later you'd still see up under bushes patches of snow. So that was the longest snow I'd ever seen down here in my part of Alabama. Mike Simmons, good evening, brother. Yeah, we use them for small. James, we use the old tin as fishing sets. We'd put fishing line around the outside of it and put hooks and stuff in it and carry a cane pole, and that was your little bitty tackle box. We use it to carry 22s in. There was all kinds of stuff. I can remember the old mouth reeds for turkey calls going into them. Everybody had them. Ralph, good evening. Mark, hello to Deep Beach, Texas. Ground Fog, good evening. Donald, good evening. Andrew, okay. Oh, Forgotten Tales of Alabama. I've heard of it. Yeah. The wife may have it in her set of book collection. I'm not sure. She may have it. Eddie, hello to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Thanks for tuning in. Oh yeah, Prince Albert can. Man, that was a back pocket fishing kit all the time we were boys. And a lot of the old men have their overalls on. They'd go up here on the top of the bib overalls, have some hooks, a couple of corks, a couple extra pieces of line in it. In fact, I did this in a video at one time, a micro fishing kit. And what that is a sewing bobbin with about, I think it's like 18 feet of number 6 line on it. And then there's a hook that I've already ran through it and hooked. There's a hook right there. And we would carry those like this in some little container, because with this we could find a sapling or something, make a pole. Then we would cut a piece of dead wood and hook it on to make a float, and you already had your hook and line. So that was a boy's hook and line quick right there to make it happen. Hang on a second, gotta respond to a family member. There we go. I have my sister Michelle. We have we're half. She's my half sister. Same dads, different moms, and her mother is terminal, and so I've been helping out with them as best I can in little bitty things. And she sent me a thing I had to respond to. So y'all just bear with me. I'll do the best I can. Okay, Jim, the haversacks for August, they arrived today. They're sitting right there in the box. In fact, about 45 minutes before I come in here to do this, they arrived. So they will be going out tomorrow for the August run. They are going out tomorrow. They finally got here from Lexington, Kentucky. They were shipped out on the 12th. I think it was the 12th, 13th from Lexington, Kentucky. And here it is, the 28th, and they finally got here. So what can you do? You know, I could have drove up there and back in much less time. Outdoor, Blackie was shipped out to June. Yes, June should be long gone. If you hadn't got yours yet, let me know and I'll see what I can do to find out. Carlos, my next gathering will be October, and it will be October the 15th through the 19th at Geneva State Forest Lake. Okay, I've got a single action army that shoots 4 inches to the right at 20 yards. Is there any way to bring it over to point of aim? You can lean the front sight just a grunt. I've done that before. Also, figuring out the rear notch and where that. Let me see it line up. Okay. Ooh, you got everything backwards on the camera, you know. And oh, come on now. That you can put it to one side and shoot center that way. Leaning or turning the barrel is about your thing. Now, if it's a pin barrel, you don't get to turn it. If it's not, I have bent the front sight before on a single action just a little to get it to hit point of aim, because it was off like at a couple of inches at 20 yards or something. But that's the only thing I can tell you. And unfortunately, it's just the way it is. Mark Stewart, hello there. Andrew, what's a good place to hike in the mountains of Alabama? There is Peyote Trail, which means turkey, and it runs along the ridge of the mountains of Alabama, going through the Piedmont and etc. Now, that is when Kephart was trying to get the hiking trail that became the Appalachian Trail. He envisioned it going all the way to Florida, and so there's a Trans-Florida Trail that comes up and crosses in and goes through the place I hold my camp at, my event at, in the bottom part of the state. That is part of the Alabama Hiking Trail. That joins the Peyote Trail, which is another name for turkey, a native name for turkey. That goes all the way and stops in Georgia, about 20 miles short of the Appalachian Trail. So if you look up Alabama Hiking Trail or Peyote Trail or Talladega National Forest, there's a bunch of hiking trails up in there. And then the Sipsey Wilderness area, there's another place that's got good trails. That's in Bankhead National Forest. Oh, somebody took a nail and poked 2 holes in the lid. They're using it as a to carry crickets in. That for fishing, you'd poke 2 holes in it so they get air, and you'd put it in your pocket, and you'd take it and you'd go shake, shake, and shake it to the bottom, flip it open, put your thumb over the top, and leave just a little bitty hole, and shake. When the cricket came out, you pinch him, and then you'd shake and flip the lid closed, and used it as a cricket cage. I've seen that a lot as a boy. They always poke a couple of holes in it so they could breathe. Randy, thank you very much. Marvin Carpenter, glad you're here. Mitchell, hello to San Diego. Yes, you could put JB Weld on them. Come from the bottom, really, so you wouldn't see it so much on top. That's one way to do it. Jonathan Frisbee's Fearless Journey. Hello, brother. Glad you made it. John, Blackie, is there ever a situation where you would choose a military surplus tarp over military surplus poncho? Yes, the tarp not having that head hole in it is easier to set good and taut and not have any leaks. Also, if I was going to be carrying it where I was going to be transforming it into a boat, you make a framework of brush, then you put the tarp over it, roll the whole thing upside down and take the loose ends and roll it in, and you've got a bull boat basically to put your gear in and swim across the river. You can do it with a poncho, but you got to pull the center of the head way up above water level, otherwise water will come in around it. See? But as far as I would interchange them if I had other rain gear. If I had a real light, ultralight little other small poncho to use for a pure rain cover and use that, the military tarp would be a better choice then, because it doesn't have that head hole in it. Am I packing up to go home on the 19th? Is that Sunday? 1 second. Let me reconsult my little timekeeper right here and flip over to that. 15th or the 19th? No, that's October. October, yeah. 19th. Yes, I'll be heading home Sunday. Usually what happens is Sunday morning, we got a lot of people got a long way to go. We got people that come in from Michigan and Texas and Virginia and Ohio, and they got a long run ahead of them. So usually by lunch, everybody's left. There are going to be some people like Jonathan Frisbee or Chris Hall or them. They want to stay another week. But usually after I've been out here for a week, I'm ready to come home and get a shower. And so I usually pack up and I get gone along and then. I mean, this last year. Was it this year? It was last year. I was in the woods 14 days straight, where we went out to the same place and we did the Silver Wolves class that was there. And then I stayed, and then it rolled over and became my gathering. And so I was out there 14 days straight. Not that I don't like that, but it was just, I was ready to come home and get a hot shower and relax, especially when everybody's looking at you, talking to you. It's one thing when you're in an event and you're there. It's another thing when there's so many people there to talk to you and you have to talk nonstop. And I'm delighted, I'm happy, I'm tickled to see everybody. But at the same time, it can be a little tiring too. And being able to just come home and take a break so 14 days was a pretty good stretch for me. Okay. 223, hello to Waynesville, Missouri. Carlos, Blackie, have you done stealth camping? A lot of stealth camping as a young man. Yeah, I did. And if you go look at my video on being sneaky, there's a little playlist called Being Sneaky. I talk a lot about stealthy stuff of getting in and getting out of areas and how to hide, how to put up little things. But yeah, go look at my Being Sneaky series, and that'll talk about stealth camping and stuff like that. Anthony, do you have a public email? Yes, that is scouthunter36330 at yahoo.com. I do not check it every day, I'll tell you that, but I do check it often. And so that's about the only real way to get a hold of me to get a reply. 117 Rebel, thanks for tuning in. Marvin, I'm thinking about building a blunderbuss. Have you ever messed with one? I have shot one a few times, a flintlock blunderbuss. And they did exactly what they were supposed to do. It's a sawed-off shotgun. It threw a big pattern up close. And it's fun to use in targeting and stuff. It's not a very effective hunting weapon at all. Now, for what it was designed for, close range self-defense, yeah, it was very brutally effective. But as far as a hunting gun, it never patterns well. It's just a random jumble. And so it looks good. It's real cool to play with, but it's not an effective hunting tool. I can tell you that. Satchmo, hello. Tad, Blackie, how big is a military tarp? I want to say it's like 7x8, like this one hanging up right there. I think they're like 7x8, something like that. 8x8, 7x8, something like that. It does seem to be a little bit elongated, so it's not truly square. So I'd say, I guess it's like 7x8. So, hello, Bob and Chris in Southwest Ohio. Thanks for dropping in. Will, hello. Ricky Brock, good evening. Yeah, Jonathan, I know you were there with me too. I hear you, Rob, Randy. You got to get your scheduling set up. 117, correct. Blunderbusses that was their job. It was to mass fire into a group and just wound as many as you could, clear the deck, break up a mob coming toward you. You start blasting away with a pair of them, it got people got their attention in a hurry. Good evening, Justin. I hear you. Farm boy, hello there. Yeah, the military tarp. I really like the military tarps. And what I do is, I believe it's in the ground pounder. If it's not, it's in one of my old tips or tricks videos. But I call it the penny mod. And so right in the middle of one of these big tarps like that, I take a penny or a rock or something. We used to literally use a penny. And we'd push it up in it. We'd whip it with a piece of bank line and leave us a loop to hook to. And that was your pull out. So you could bow the tarp out and get more headroom under it, and etc. And then we'd add a few of the little loops here or there, and it made it very efficient. If you go look at my ground pounder series, I know I talk about that. And if you also go look at my I believe my advanced Woodcraft lessons, I believe I talk quite a bit about ways to rig up a tarp, and hopefully that'll help you guys. Eddie, Blackie, I have a pretty good question. Goofy question, got you. When you go out camping in Bushcraft, exactly what do you do? Recently retired USMC. Hoorah, thank you for your service. big into bushcraft, have the gear, but unsure what to do once they get out there. Got you. And because your mission objective, we are here to do this, and USMC, great at breaking stuff up. Tear it up, break it up. I get you. Well, more education. Carry a plant identification and start teaching yourself more about foraging, plant ID, living off the land type ideal, fire, skills training is what you can do. As well as just sitting around talking to the guys, there's all kinds of things you can do to do it. Journal. A lot of people really enjoy sitting there and journaling. And from that, they kind of focus their thoughts down to where I need to make some improvement. Do I feel comfortable doing a bow drill fire? Do I feel comfortable with foraging? Do I feel comfortable with this? Do I need to know more? And then you focus in on that. You're always a student. I'm always learning. I learn something about every event I go to, one way or the other. Sometimes people will teach you a new way to do something. Sometimes people teach you a way how not to do something, but hey, and so focus on that. That's what we do. We go out, we hang out just like everybody else, but somebody says, Blackie, I want to, and we dive into that. And that's what we do. It's working on that. Paul, hello there. Okay, DeClavia, I'm guessing. Sorry if I butchered your name, but hello. William, yeah, you can use them as a bottom tie down as well, but we put them in the center as a center pull out on them. But it's a small rock, a washer, a penny, whatever. Andrew, thank you. Yeah, they work very well. Those 117 Rebel, those Pathfinder canteen cup sets, they work very well. Yes, you can use it like a double boiler, Scott. You take the M40 cooker. We've done hot dogs that way, hot dogs and beans. And what we've done is we've set the top half, top fry pan, we put the beans in. The bottom, we put the water and we put the dogs, and we will sit the beans down on the heat first and heat them where they're just starting to get good and warm. They ain't really ready yet, but you know what I mean. When it gets that way, we'd lift them up and we'd set the hot dogs on there with the water and let it start getting hot and put the beans on like a cover. And that, like a double boiler system, as that water comes up to boil, that heat's being transferred into it, and it would slowly bring the beans up. So the beans ain't overheating and burning, but they're sitting there getting warm, right? And about the time they're good and warm and that water's at a good hard boil and the dogs are ready, that's when you lift the beans off and you take the two flattened out hot dog buns and lay across the top and let it steam the hot dog buns for just a second. That boiling water, and you take it off, lay it down, start stabbing, and start putting hot dogs. Probably 5 or 6 years ago, I took my wife out to the lake and I cooked a supper for us of dogs and beans. That way, we diced up onion, threw it into the beans, and I used my little M40 to make us hot dogs and beans for supper. But you can use it as a double boiler that way to keep it warm or to heat it back up. Okay, let me catch back up. Y'all are throwing them hot and fast at me now. I got to catch up. Chris, Blackie, I'm bidding on a pre-Civil War 16 gauge Belgium side by side to use fouling. Would it be okay to load it with a single round ball or a larger game? If so, do you know what size ball? Okay. If it is a Civil War 16 gauge that is a percussion gun, it is probably going to be a non-choked straight tube. And yes, you can load a ball in it. Now, a 16 gauge is a 69 caliber French muskets. So, 69, so like a 680 round ball with a patch, and Dixie Gun Works, Tracker the Wolf should both have molds for that. And you just patch it and put it in there and just load it like you'd do a smoothbore muzzleloader. You use a patch and put down it. And you could use it for big game, using it like a slug. That was what they called the pumpkin ball back in days. So yeah, it would work just fine for that. If you do get super rare and find one that is actually choked a little, then no, you can't put a solid ball into it because the barrels were too soft and it flex them out. And if it is a Damascus barrel, I advise against shooting it, because Damascus is very, very susceptible to corrosion, because all them layers twisted up to make that barrel, and it'll look perfectly fine. You'll take it off and you'll tap it and it'll ring like it's supposed to, ring like a bell, and then sooner or later you're going to pull the trigger and that barrel's going to come apart. That's the reason we abandoned Damascus barrels by about 1885. They stuck around in the high-end guns, but really by about 1885, 1890, and a lot of those guns between 1860 and 1880, they're really using questionable metallurgy, and especially right after the war, they were taking all the military surplus metal that was coming out of the war. There'd been sidearm, bayonets, swords, buggy parts, whatever, and turned them into metal, and making stuff out of them. That's one of the problems I had with the Winchesters and stuff wearing out early, was because the metal was just, the metallurgy wasn't there. And Damascus barrels looked beautiful, but they did not work out that well as a actual shooting gun. That corrosion would get between those layers, and eventually those layers would take the shock and they'd just separate, and you'd have a barrel not explode, but just come apart. And in my family history, my Uncle Henry, who was the big hunter of the bunch, the big shooter, and like me, he did gun playing around and stuff like that. In 1954, 55, something like that, he was hunting with a very fine old double Damascus barrel, Belgian made 16 gauge. And he was hunting quail, and it was mile loads. It was not any high pressure stuff. It was mild, because when you're hunting quail, they're right there at your feet. You don't want powerful. You just want a beautiful pattern, because they're such a fragile bird. And he pulled the trigger. Oh, I can't talk. Pulled the trigger on, and the right barrel just came apart. And so he had the left barrel, the rib, and this. Literally, it said it looked like wires, like you just pulled out a coil spring, and it came apart. And I've seen pictures of it. I never got to hold it, but that's the problem with antiques like that. Would it be shootable? I don't know. That you get somebody that knows what they're doing to take a good look at it before you ever shoot it. Good luck to it. I mean, I'm one of them. I love the old guns, but have somebody that knows what they're doing take a look at it. Take the barrels off. Take a piece of heavy thread or light string like bank line and hook it or something where it can hang, free hang, and then take like the handle of a hammer and go tap it. And if it goes dong and it rings like a bell, that means that's called ringing a barrel. It means that it's harmonic and that it's therefore seems to be in pretty solid shape. If you tap it and it goes thunk, then there's flaws in it. And like a broken bell, it can't ring. That means that there are flaws in that barrel somewhere, and you really don't want to pull the trigger on it. So good luck to you. Dale Morris, good evening. All right, let me scroll back down here and catch up with everybody now. Yeah, Castleberry chili with those hot dogs. Gotcha. Tim Harper. Okay, thank you. I will check immediately after we get off here. I'll go check that email. Decay, got you. Paul, got you. Okay, Paul. Decay, gotcha. Okay. Metal canteen cup with a Nalgene canteen inside. Ever see one wear through the canteen side and bottom roll over the edge? No, I haven't. In fact, my old, it's right up there, my nail gleam that I've had for 10 or 12 years now has been really, really good and hasn't given me any problems. Yes, wire. That's what they did. They started with a mandrel, which is just a bar, and they took the hot and wrapped it around it, welding it and welded it together to make the barrel. And it was beautiful. You know, what they did before that was they would take a flat piece of metal, heat it up, and they would put a solid piece in it, and they would go to beating down the middle and make it, go from flat to rolling up until eventually they got it to where they could stick a mandrel, a steel bar in, and fold it over and nail it and weld all the way. So to get around that, they came up with this Damascus barrel idea of wrapping the wire around and welding it up. And it made a beautiful pattern, but it didn't hold up. Now, later, by the late 1870s, early 1880s, we had what was called fluid steel barrels. And what they would do is they would basically make tubing. They'd found a way to make tubing. And that tubing, while still hot, would be brought out. It would be forced onto the mandrel to make the shape of the chamber and everything else on it. And it would be spun with a weight dropped down on it to kind of put a little pressure on it. So it would be smooth and it'd be like fluid. It'd come out and then they'd cool it, harden it, put the two barrels together and solder a rib between it. And that's how we do it modernly today, is that same type technique. But that's the reason Damascus didn't hold on, Chris, I'd be honest, for it having Damascus barrels and all like that, if you're looking at it as a collectible, a something to be going up in value one day, yes, I could see that. If you're looking for a shooting shotgun, I would recommend against it, just to be honest. For the price of it, you can buy an Italian replica shotgun right now in a 12 gauge, or about $1,000, in percussion, and you can have a gun that can handle anything, Sir Malcolm, hello there. Cameron, eating first roadkill deer. Awesome. Chris, you got an old 32 pocket pistol. Everything appears solid on the outside and in the bore. Anything else to look at? There are William Collins. Hello, brother, and happy birthday. Thanks for stopping in. Everybody, William Collins, the Mad Knife Wizard, it's his birthday, and he's jumped into chat. So everybody say happy birthday. Chris, there are 5 or 6 different kinds of pocket 32 cartridge. Short, long, Smith, etc. So if it's not marked on the barrel exactly what's supposed to go in it, have somebody find out the correct bullet. That's the only thing you need to really worry about, because you can put the wrong one in there. And so make sure you're getting exactly what it's supposed to need. Understand, Chris. Good luck to you. Hope you win the bid. Matt, Blackie, have you ever tried the fire starters? I believe, yes, I did. I did. I remember those. Yes, I did use them. I gave some away. They worked well. Yeah, Mark, I had a 10 gauge Pertisoli and loved that gun. Shot it really well. It was fantastic. Yeah, William, those birthday days just seem to slide around the corner. Every time you turn around, there it is. It's another birthday. But I wish you many more, brother. And I look forward to seeing you at the gathering if you get a chance. If not, I understand. It's life, busy. But if you get a chance, I'd love to see you. Patriot Preacher, yep. William and Fuel the Fires has come up with another knife that's the companion to the Gray Man. And I think they're still kind of working out the name for it. It's, I think, Scavenger or Shadow or something like that. It's going to be the name to go with it. But it looks good. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on one and playing with it. I've really enjoyed because right there is the Gray Man, and I've been using it, and I'm looking forward to getting my hand on the other one. Janet Knight, hello to South Georgia. Okay, Chris, the thing to do is there was a short, a long, two or three of them. And you don't want to order expensive ammo because those are very expensive. Some of them are not worth ordering because they're collectible. And nobody is actually shooting them like the 32 rimfires. They're just extremely expensive. It's not really meant to shoot. It's meant to put up on a collection. Some of them, like the 32 S&W, the 32 short, and I think the 32 Colt. Most of them are just close enough. You might be in there and change them. We'll see. But that's the thing. Make sure what you get before you do it. I had a good friend of mine that spent way too much money, and he thought he was getting the proper 32, and it was not the correct 32 and did not go into that gun. And these were highly collectible bullets. That was a good thing. We were able to sell it to another collector and get his money back. But just be careful. Awesome, William. Looking forward to see you, brother. Dan, the June should be completely out. Dan, go to the where you ordered before, the Scalp Hunter 36330 at yahoo.com. Send who you are. Tell me your name so I can compare to my listing up here. My listing of all the names and everything. And because the June run is completely out and gone. The July run is completely out. The only thing left is the August, and I got it right over there, and it's about to go out. So let's find out. I know there's been some screwy stuff going on with the postal, and one individual, his came back from the UK because the UK will not allow importation of my bag. It says that it, even though we've tried it 4 or 5 different ways, no matter how you put it in, it comes back fur and leather. No, it's not. It's canvas, fur and leather. So they're just not letting it import. I don't know. So it just came back to me in today's mail, literally right there. So I've got to contact him and give him a refund. So everybody thinks Blackie's life is so easy. You should see it on this side of the screen. Prototype A. Yes, you do, Jonathan Frisbee. Eddie, okay. Cool. Okay. The William is saying that the Fuel the Fire Companion will be released probably like next weekend, 5th or so of September. He'll do a video, so keep your eyes out, guys. Creek Camper, hello, brother. Thanks for tuning in. For those of you who don't know, Creek Camper is another Alabama bushcrafter, and he's got a good channel up here in Alabama. Y'all need to check him out. $117. Yeah, those Walther PPs are really nice in it. Marv Carpenter. Yes, what they did was they were importing 32 from Italy. Because apparently in still parts of Europe, those 32 rim, 32 shorts are still being manufactured, like Fiocchi and stuff like that. So Old Western Scrounger, which is Navy Arms renamed. When Val Forges of Navy Arms passed away, his son took over the company and he renamed it Old Western Scrounger. So there's still a Navy Arms, but Old Western Scrounger is the current company, and they do bring in shotguns, guns out of Italy, all kinds of stuff. Dan, thank you. I will, as soon as I get off here, I'll go look at it and try to respond. Yeah, William says that 32 Magnum and SP 101 would be a good choice. Two guys in the Ozarks. Hello there. Dinosaur Hempton. Good evening. Charles Martin. I don't know. I don't know. I'll ask her. But this is something that's kind of new to me too. That I got it, and I went back to the post office today and said, "Hey, what's the deal? You know, did I not do my postage right or whatever?" And she translated the sticker on it and said, "No, customs refused it, saying forbidden to import." And so we tried to resend it, and I said, "Okay, did we say something wrong? Let's start from scratch. I can rebag it, you know, and here's the weight and etc. What's the deal?" And every way we tried putting it in, you know, what is it made out of? And we just said cotton. No. Leather and fur. No. Canvas. Click. Leather and fur. Waxed canvas. Leather and fur. Beach bag. Leather and fur. It's politics, but my pay grade. You know, I'll do what I can. Andy Knight, good evening. John B., glad to be doing it. There'll be another percussion revolver video coming out this Thursday. It was part of my percussion revolver online class that I did, where I jumped all over the place. I talked about 51 Navy, 1860 Army, talked about pocket pistols, dragoons, did some comparisons. I showed how to cast ball for them and stuff like that. Excuse me. And so this Saturday will be another one of the percussion series be popping out. Wait, maybe not. Okay, here's the thing. I've talked about this before. 357, you would think automatically would be the best choice. If you had three guns laying in front of you, one is the 9mm, the other one is the 357, and the other one is, say, a 380, and they're all SP 101s, exact same barrel length. The 9mm is the best and most effective because Miss Pam's in the house. Good evening, dear. Hey, William's on, and so is Jonathan Frisbee and Bear. The 9mm the powder that's used in it is designed to burn up all of it right here in this chamber because it's a lock breech automatic, right? The 38 and the 357, the powder that's commonly used in it is designed for a 4 or 6 inch barrel gun. And if you put it in like a short 2-inch barrel, the powder doesn't burn, and it does burn, but you do not get the velocity that you would get out of the longer barrel. And so Ross Seyfried, and I've told this story many times before, he runs an elk ranch up in Montana, and he got a SP-101 and 357. And he had it in his back pocket, and a guy had shot an elk, and they walked up, and the elk was not quite dead. He wanted to do a coup de grace. He walked up like 5 feet from it, aimed him right top of the head, and pulled the trigger. And that hot hand load he had hit him dead center at the top of the forehead, and the elk shook his head and started getting up, and he emptied all 5 shots into a 50-cent size group on top of his head, and the elk got to his feet. He grabbed the guy's rifle and shot and killed it. And when they did a post-mortem and he cut it up, there was every one of them hollow points sitting on top of the skull. None of them penetrated the skull. And so he went and shot it across the chronograph and found out it was leaving the barrel at 450 feet per second. But man, this is 1,500 feet per second out of my 6-inch barrel. But out of a 2-inch barrel, it was 400, because all it was just big old flash, see? The 9mm. He went comparing the SP-101s, and he found the 9mm out of such a short barrel gave higher velocities, better penetration, was a better combat weapon than the 357 in this application because of the barrel short. That's the deal. And so get a 9mm if you want the shorty barrel, get the 9. You'll do a better job. Miss Pam, how are things going down there? Looking forward to seeing y'all. Thanks, William. Thanks for coming in. Oh, the third part of the butt packs. The plan is the third part of the butt packs would be this Sunday. If for whatever reason I cannot do it and post it for this Sunday, it will be next Wednesday. But the plan at this time is the third in that series is going to be this Sunday is when it's going to go live. That's the plan. We even tried luggage, and it just, I don't know what they're doing. You know, even the lady on the other side of the counter said, this makes no sense to me either. But for some reason, I guess they don't want to import anything. Thank you, Eddie. Yeah, they're tough. There's a lot of thought went into making that Red Hawk. Correct, 117 Rebel. If you know that you're going to be shooting this 357 in your 2-inch barrel and you use proper powder loads that burn fast enough to burn up in that short barrel and give it the velocity, you can get that 357 to greatly outperform that 9. But ammo straight across the counter, 38 and 357, they are loaded for 4 or 6-inch barrels, and 9mm are loaded for locked breech, and it makes a difference. Good. I don't know, Charles. I'm the same way. It's like, this is not an animal product. It doesn't even have any leather on it. It's just canvas, cloth. We tried canvas, cloth, cotton cloth. You know. Good, Pam. Two Guys in Ozarks. Blackie, are having any plans for the Labor Day weekend with the cooler weather? I'm going to spend some time with Mrs. Blackie. It's supposed to start raining tomorrow, and if it does, we have got some things around the house, some projects that she who must be obeyed has requested my help with. She has gone through and she's redesigning her closet. She's dug everything out. And so I'm here to help her. She wants a light put in her closet so she can reach up and see everything in her closet. So Blackie's going to get out the drill and do a little bit of redneck engineering and get her a light in her closet. You know, she's put up with me for 35 years. By God, she can get a light in the closet if she wants it. But after that, we're going to go out for a nice dinner. And we might, depending on the weather, might go right out to the lake. And she wants to go sit by the lake, and she does her journals and she writes letters, and I go and do videos or hang up my hammock. So that's the tentative plan right now. Tad, Blackie, have you thought about putting a molly strap on your haversack at all? Yes. In fact, I'll let y'all behind the curtain a little bit. We're going to change the Red Hawk sometime in the near future with the strap. And what we're going to do is, and where do I have one handy? Right here. Okay. When I designed this, I originally designed the strap to be a piece of material folded in half and then sewed on one end to make the chamber to put the saw blade into. And it was the same material as this, wax canvas. Over time, that got changed because that greatly increased the price of the haversack was using that much of this expensive material, because this stuff ain't cheap. It's like $19 a yard for the actual wax, the industrial made wax canvas ripstop. And so we then went to a webbing type of cotton webbing on this with this sewed on pocket. And then it got during COVID, we couldn't get reliable webbing. It would come in and it'd be one color on one end of the roll, and through the roll the color would change, because of COVID, things were just And so we finally went to this military grade webbing and put the pocket on it. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to replace this if it works the way we want. Okay, we're in the ultimate stages of it. We're going to make this whole strap hollow, and we're going to take 2 strips of this webbing and sew them. So it'll be a hollow tube all the way around without this sewed on piece. It'll go all the way down. We ain't got to make this reduction. And it'll be one long hollow piece of tubing, see, of the heavy military grade nylon tubing. And that way you can still drop whatever into it, but it'll where we don't have to sew that pocket on. And we would be a cost savings and a time savings, because it's real intricate to make all these little folds and stuff and make this look right. Sew that pocket on that strap. So we're going to streamline it. And that will probably become the, Mark IV. Because it was the Mark I, the Mark II, the Mark III, and I guess that'll be the Mark IV. And it's always been changes to the strap. And so the Red Hawk and the Blackbird would both change the strap, same way. So that's coming. And we're going to make a change to the Nighthawk, where how the Sparrowhawk closes. We have a set of double D rings, and a strap on the other end so you can roll it down, then you fold it over and go through. Okay. We're going to put that onto the rucksack, the Nighthawk, where it'll have a strap of webbing and double Ds. Right now we've got a single D on either side, and you twist it down and fold it together and use a carabiner to close it. We'll go to where it's the strap and that, and you roll it down and hook it the same way. But I'll show y'all and let y'all know whenever we get to do it. Yes, Miss Pam. Everybody bugged me enough to try this. So for Miss Pam's benefit, Up there is all rucksacks, and then these over here are tarps on top. Then there is the pocket knives, batteries, and all the stuff in that small section right there, that shelf, that small totes. The larger totes right here are scarves, gloves, 550 cord, cordage, all kinds of stuff. Down here is larger collections of fire kit stuff and etc. Then down here in this section across the bottom is totes that have hammocks, tarps, canteens, MREs, cook sets. Up here on the very top shelf, that white up there, that's the big canvas diamond shelters. Then you have the Chinese sewing machine, that green thing right there. And then you have haversacks and all kinds of stuff hanging up right there. Boonie hat. Over here you have all the knives and kukris. There's all the WC knives and stuff. And then right here begins cook sets and stuff up here. And then here's my workbench where I used to do gunsmithing and I tinker and stuff like that. Over that way on the other side of the tarp, you've got the bookshelves and stuff like that. So there you go. There's my little tour of my little inner sanctum sanctorum, Blackie's little raven's lair that he comes into and does all of his stuff. Wade, what is the ballistics of a 36 black powder? How many grains of powder equal 38 special ballistics? A full chamber of a 36 round ball will leave the barrel somewhere around 1,000 to 1,100 feet per second. So it would be a higher ballistic because the average 38 special is going to leave the barrel at somewhere about 950. But it's a heavier bullet. It's an 88 grain round ball versus 158 grain 38. And so you can see the difference. But having hunted and shot with those things in real life, I'm here to tell you, at 0 to 15 yards, there ain't no difference between a cap and ball 36 and a 38 special. As far as actual performance in the field, what it does to living things like game and rabid dogs and big ticked off sow hogs that are intent on killing you or something like that, there is no difference in performance. It's just like shooting with a hot loaded 38. 117, are there any TV shows you're watching currently? Actually, I haven't owned a TV since 2013, to be honest. I'm too busy doing my stuff, and so I don't follow TV shows that much. Hiram, good evening. SC Woodsman, wait, thank you for dropping in. George, show your kukri, Blackie. Kukri. Notice how thick it is. This is the champura, which means chopper. And then this is a long, thin one called a suruptai. All right, get it right. We don't want to damage anything. Suruptai, a lot thinner. This one I've had for years, but let's see. You can tell the difference. This one is a good deal thinner than this one, as well as a thinner blade. This, the big one, is considered like a hatchet. It is a chopper. This is considered like a machete or fighting knife. And this one was actually carried by an Australian soldier who served with the Gurkhas. And whenever he passed away, his son, him and his father, the soldier and his son both followed my channel and enjoyed it. He asked him to send me his kukri. And so he shipped it to me all the way from Australia or New Zealand. If I'm getting it wrong, I'm sorry. I got to go back and look. But all the way from the other side of the world. So this one was actually in service with the Gurkhas whenever he served with Gurkhas. And then the little one is called an officer's Kukri, because we know officers do not do that much as far as this. And you can see it's a lot smaller. It's good and thick, but it's, yeah. But whenever I did my year of the Kukri, I used this one as my Bushcraft knife. And in that year of the Kukri, you had to use a Kukri for any job that could be done with a knife. And so I had 8 Kukris. And so I had this one for the, camp chores, build shelters, chop firewood, etc. I had the big one that was like the beheader one they see in things. I used that as an axe and used it to chop down bigger trees. This one was my belt knife. And then there was an even smaller one. It was only like a 3.5-inch blade called a bilton. And bilton is kind of like jerky. And they use it in that part of the world because you'd bite down on it. It looks like a plug of tobacco. They'd bite down on it and they'd bring the knife up and slice it off and chew. And so it was used kind of like a pocket knife. Can you reload 4440 with Power Decks? Yes, you can. Power Decks compresses well. So what I suggest you do is this. Load it the full 40 grains, compress it, looking at how deep an opening you need for the bullet to sit. Okay. Compress it with a wooden dowel down to at least right close to that. Okay. Then put the bullet on it in the press and seat it. If you try to just ram it and have the bullet compress it, it will blow out the shoulder on the case and it will be very hard to chamber. So do it that way. Cow Tipper, you made it. Outdoor. Okay. Originally, 3 or 4 years ago, I had decided to, because my good friend William Collins, who is also an author, and he's written, I believe, 3 books, and I have all of them over there on the bookshelf, that I needed to write a book. And so I decided to compile the information to become a book. Okay. And so in talking with subscribers and stuff like that, I created this online class system called the Master Woodsman series. And that was me kind of, yes, I'm doing a video, but I'm kind of dictating what I wanted to make in the book. That's the reason that's an hour-long video on a fire kit. I'm trying to dive deep and touch all the bases to have a text that I can edit. See what I'm saying? And so that's the reason I did fire, then I did shelters, and then I do one on cutting tools. I don't know, there's like eight topics or something. But from those, I was going to edit that down and create a book. And I've still got a couple of rough drafts I'm working with. It's kind of on the back burner, but I am one day hoping to release a book. I will let you guys know ahead of time. Once I get it ready to go, I'm going to self-publish because William's going to walk me through it. Basically, you go to Amazon, you send them, you say, here's how big I want the book to be, blah, 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 blah. And they take the document, you build it how you want it. Then they send me a proof. I take it and look at it word by word, page by page. If I go, yes, this is it, then they will create on Amazon the website, the page, and I could then hand off to you, go here, here's the name. You go to Amazon, you buy it, they will print the book on demand and mail it to you. They hand me my cut and they keep their cut. And so that's all I got to do past that point. But if I get to that point, and I'm working on it, guys, you wouldn't believe what all I do in a day. You would think retiring would make life easier. It sure ain't. once I will give you guys heads up way in advance if I ever get it doing. Eddie, has anybody ever used a leather haversack? I have. I've used deerskin haversacks before. Randy Robbins, how about show and make them cry? Wait one. Make them cry. To the holes in it. That used to come down about that much further, but I've sharpened it over the years. This is a blacksmith made hawk that it did actually split, and I got a blacksmith to help me, and we rehammered it back together. But this is the one I told the story about that I beat the guy with the hawk that was so expensive, and he was the real horse's butt. And whenever I threw it, that last one, the handle had split, and you can see how this one, see that big chip out of it right there. That's from a hit. That's from a handle match hit. And that's when you're throwing in competition and sticking them in your hawks, and the next guy's hawk hits and damages your handle. We call it a handle match. See, the two brass tacks have been tore up on that side, and the guy mine had been split where it looked like a banana peel, but I could lean it back like this and line all the pieces up and throw it, and then it would hit. And I knew it was going to snap every time I threw it, but it kept going. And finally he did that thing about the best man win, da-da-da-da. When I threw it that last time, I had a little bit of, as my grandmama used to say, I had a little anger in my heart. And when it hit the back of his high dollar hawk. It cut the metal, split the handle, and the handle fell out. My hawk was left stuck in the back of his ruined $200 custom tomahawk. Yeah. That was, and he went to crying. And so they named this hawk. I didn't name it, but everybody their names would make them cry. That's the reason it's missing that, because I had to resharpen it where it was so blunted from cutting that steel. But it's make them cry. Well, Raul, good night. Charles Martin, will you have an audio version? I'm sure I will. Johnny, good evening. Two guys, good night. Oh, cool, George. Yeah, that's all I did with this one is I just took a piece of green canvas and covered that original, because it's two pieces of wood that's been glued together with what they call laha. We call it pine pitch. Basically, like you make pine glue. You take it, charcoal, rabbit poop or something, and pine sap, melt it, make a glue, epoxy. Whatever the designation is in the Himalayas, they call it laha, but it's basically pine pitch. And that takes the two wooden pieces and glues it together. And then what they call leather on the outside of this is as thin as paper. It's not really leather. It's just black colored. It's like when it tears, you're going to think it's like paper. It's that thin. And so I just covered it with this heavy khaki I had years ago, and I split the frog to lace it together, and it worked. It's worked ever since. I figured, it'll hold a little while, and I'll have to redo it. Decades later, we're still going. Yeah, retirement means no job, but still more work. Oh, yeah. Outdoor, glad to do it. Yeah, the make him cry story. That's one of the things that people enjoy coming to my gatherings or seeing me at events, is they want to come sit around and listen to the stories. because somebody will say something to spark some memory or whatever, and we'll go to talking. You just never know. And this year, because somebody's going to ask, okay, what's coming up? In October is my gathering, in the October the 19th. Then on the end of October, which is Halloween, I'll be in South Florida down there for the Rewild Outdoors gathering. I'll be at that. Dave Canterbury's going to be there. Scab's going to be there. A bunch of people going to be there. It's going to be a great gathering. Then, like a week after or so, we're going to be in Georgia at the Georgia Bushcraft. I will not be teaching the class. I'm just going to hang out. And I think that's it that pops to mind right off the top of my head. I wanted to go next weekend up to West Virginia to the gather thing, but I've got a conflict I can't get out of. So I'm sorry I ain't going to be able to go. Family type things. And right now with my sister's mom, I need to stay close to be able to be supportive for her whenever if she needs something, because she's not leaving her. And she's got, mom's got terminal cancer. And so she's staying right by her all the time. So, and I understand that. So I told her, you need toilet paper, you need a soda, you need whatever, call me. I'll go get it and bring it to you. And just trying to make it, help her get through it. Yeah, that's the thing. You never pull out a Kukri like this. Don't wrap your hand around, because those two layers are just glued together and it could tear out. Now, if you notice, when you pull one out, it comes out and it binds. That's part of the design. You're supposed to pull it out and then you tip down and it'll slide out. Okay. So you push in until it stops, lift up, and it goes on in. So it's a two-step. Okay. And it keeps it from falling out. Should you turn upside down or something, it won't slide out, because this thing razor sharp flopping around you on the ground. No. So you won't do it. But you don't wrap your hand around, because if you just pulled it and you put your hand up here, look where my finger would be, and that razor would just slide right by. You always grab it like that when your fingertips are not going past that line. So you grab like that and pull and then bring it out. So then putting it back the same way. Push it in till it wiggle till it binds, and then you lift up and it'll slide right in. And that'll keep it from falling out. They knew what they were doing when they designed it. Put it that way. But my godson, Matthew Batchelor, has got finger damage right there where I had given him a Kukri, and he had not had it terrible long. And he was in the Boy Scouts, and they were doing a project, the whole troop. And his best friend walked up to take the Kukri off of his belt. He was kneeling down doing something. And he grabbed it. Well, it did that bind up, right? Like you saw. And so Matthew just wrapped his hand around it, and it bound up. And he yanked to pull it out. And when he did, it sliced through and sliced all of his fingers. And he had all kinds of tendon damage. There's going to be a real question if he's going to have to lose some fingers. And yeah, it was a bad day. So, always be careful. Tad Gallon, Blackie, they want to sit around the man myth to legend. All I am is just a redneck from Alabama, guys. You know, I am not a legend in my own mind. I'll tell you that for a fact. Tad Gallagher, thank you very much. Steve Kingsbury, good evening, brother. But yeah, this is my little, I call it my inner sanctum sanctorum, my little inner circle area. Very, very, very few people have ever been in here to see this. And one of the reasons I put that tarp back here behind was because I didn't want it to be a big distraction. And that people be going, okay, Blackie, right over your shoulder, right there. What is that? And y'all have been real good about it. I appreciate it. But if you got a question, I'll be glad to do what I can. But in the early days of us doing these live chats, I just didn't want it to be. And that comes from Dan. The reason I do this on Thursday night was because of my good brother Dan Lutz, who sadly passed away way too soon. He was doing a Thursday night live every week for probably about a year, if not a little bit more. And then whenever he passed away, there were many of the followers that had been on following him asked me would I take it over and start doing it for him. So whenever I did some of my very first one of these, it was like, hi, this is Dan Lutz's AB Normal podcast. I am the guest host, Blackie Thomas, in honor of him. And I really miss him. And I still hear him sometimes in the cool of the night and things like that. He's still around. He's just hunting in the high country. That's all. But hopefully, for those coming to the gathering, we'll have a cool camp out. I'm hoping that the nights will be in the 50s at least. It being October, fingers crossed, it will be. And good weather, not bad weather. But either way, I'm going to be there. I will sling up and I will batten down the hatches if I have to, but I'm going to be in the woods for a week. That's all there is to it, especially after the summer. My health has got better. The part of the stroke was that the body doesn't regulate its temperature really well. And this past winter, it happened in November, and so in the winter, I never really felt cold. I felt cool, but I never really felt cold. You know what I mean? Even when it was snowed and we were walking around in snow with boots on, I should have been uncomfortably cool, and I wasn't. And I talked to the doctor about it, and he said that part of the brain may be regulating your body temperature. Well, I was really worried about it going to be summer down here, and at the beginning of summer, back in April and May, it got being kind of tough on me. I was overheating just sitting there. And so I wouldn't sweat hard. I would if a level 1 is you get just a little bit moist, a level 2, you see little drops every so often. And a level 3 is you got drops dropping off of you. I couldn't go to level 3. And so even just sitting there talking to people, I would heat sink and get too hot. And I was very, very susceptible to heat stroke and heat exhaustion. And the doctor told me stay in air conditioning as much as you can. So I have tried to reacclimate myself. And so now here at the end of summer with 100-degree temps and stuff like that in the past few weeks where the heat index was over 100, I've got to where I can stay out there like an hour or so before I realize I'm just too hot. And so I am acclimating and getting better. My goal is by next summer, I'll be able to camp into June instead of having to cut off in May and be able to just keep going with y'all camping. That's the plan. Chris, Blackie, do you know anything about a Beretta over-under percussion 12 gauge model 1000? I do remember one of those, yes. Beretta had got into the black powder because they had bought Uberti, I think it was, or it might have been Uberti, or it might have been Pertasoli, but they bought one, and they brought out an over-under percussion 12 gauge. And what it was for the percussion skeet shooting competitions. And it was a very good gun, It did shoot black powder and it was percussion, but it was really very much just a modern gun made to shoot black powder. And to my knowledge, there wasn't a historic precedent for that. They had swivel barrels, but not an over and under back in the historic day. It was always side by side. And so, but for the competition shooters, I understand it was well liked, and I understand they got to be pricey. So I haven't seen one for sale in a long time, but I know that they were a well-made gun, and that's what they were for the black powder shooting matches like at Friendship and the national matches and stuff like that for shooting skeet with black powder. So we're made to be a serious competition gun. I think all bushcrafters should organize a national bushcraft event. They do that in the UK. I believe we could do it here in the US. We'd probably need to do one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast, just for the distance to travel. But I believe it could be done. Gray Wolf, if you were ground pounding on foot in the north, which tomahawk head shape would you prefer? A one tool option or the smaller, larger hatchet? Up there, I prefer this style, to be honest. Maximum cutting area, and the fact that your wood up there in the north can freeze. And so I would prefer the wider cutting bit than the narrower cutting bit, to be honest, because it would have this has got a better chance if it's because of the way it's shaped and it sticks. It doesn't want to bite in and stick. Where the narrow worm, you can get it to bite in and you can barely pull it back out, depending on the wood. And so we figured that out in living history, that the wider bit like they had in historical times, there was a reason they used them. Not for a weapon, but for chopping and busting up firewood and everything else, and being able to bang and take this head off and use that as a knife to cut on a big animal, get a section of a haunch off of an elk or something like that. Yeah, I would like the wide one. Well, Anthony, thank you very much. thanks for coming in. Number one, Big Bear, they have already tested, and I have permanent damage. I have a dead spot in my brain about the size of a small egg, like a small chicken egg, and it's at the junction of three areas of the brain that, at a glance, all these doctors would tell you: A, I should not be able to talk. I should have no fine motor control at all. I should, be like somebody with MS or something at best. And I should have severe memory problems, because it's where short to long term memory is right there close to that. And I think it's affected by it. It's not truly round, it's sort of a jagged shape. But that's a size for you. Think about the size of a golf ball. Okay. And because of that, it really doesn't make sense how I'm functional. It really doesn't. And when I went back in June and they climbed up me again, put me in and scanned me out and everything else, was in 8 medical journals for different things over the years, because I'm just weird. And I'm now in 9. They're writing this up to go into a 9th one. How I survived, we still don't know. If you ask God, it ain't Blackie. God said it, not me. But because of that, these are relatively minor problems that I can deal with. And so I've been just trying to take it day by day and keep going. Tim Pierce, I hear you. South Carolina Woodsman, Kukri machete, cool, K-bar, good. Mitchell, I hear you. Oh, yeah. Well, some of the best advice I ever got from my grandmother was, a man needs a tool shed. He needs his tools, his guns, his whatever, his toys to play with, because whenever the wife or the kids make him so mad he's about to spit, he's got to go and unwind a little bit. Well, the wife needs her sewing room. And when she goes in there and closes the door, that means don't mess with me. And that's Daddy's job to keep the youngins away from that door too until she calms down and she comes back out. And I have heeded that advice. And me and my wife have been together 35 years, be 36 years this coming November. And I insisted on day one, there's yours, mine, and ours. And I got my room that is going to be my stuff. And you're going to have your room that is your stuff. I don't go in there unless you call me to go in there. She don't come in here unless I need her to come in here. And that's the secret to it. You know, this is my toy room, and I do my stuff in here. And she does her stuff in there. And makes for a happy marriage. Living in the outdoors. Hello. Woo, yes, Chris, $900 for that Beretta. Yes, that would be very good because I think they were over $1,000 back when they were selling for new. I hear you, Sir Malcolm. 117 Rebel, thank you very much. Buzz, you made it though. Charles Martin, you're not weird, you're just unique. And like an old English teacher told me, I'll just say you're weird. That's less words than spelling out what you really are. Less letters. Mitchell, yeah, you're another one that walked away from it. God said, no, you need to be here. So, okay. Bud, Blackie, do you know anything about mossy oak knives? I have seen them, but I haven't owned one. So I really can't speak to the quality or what kind of steel they are. You're saying they're D2. That's great. But I can't honestly give you an opinion because I only know of them, but I don't know them well enough to speak to them. Wish I could. Grey Wolf, is the Bowie knife good for anything outside of single combat? I keep looking at the Cold Steel one. Okay. The false top edge, if you make it kind of sharp like a scissors sharp, is great for doing making tinder, of taking a stick and making shavings and stuff like that. If you go that last half inch at the tip on the top and round it, dull it, you can skin with it because you can pierce in and then you lay it down so that roundage right there and it will slide underneath the hide so the hide flows up the blade, see, and that rounded tip keeps it from digging into the meat and going deep. So if you take that last half inch and just round that sucker on the top and then keep the actual edge sharp to it, and you pierce in, lean down, and you can skin with it. Okay. It also does really good of just sticking the point into a stump, and you can make feather sticks and stuff like that with it. It's pretty good at chopping a little bit of light firewood, stuff like that. Making a wedge to split a bigger hunk of firewood. I carried a Bowie a long time when I was a young man. So yes, it can. Are there better designs? Absolutely. But it can serve if you're willing to learn its order of operations. But William is correct. The Kukri is far more useful, in my opinion. Yeah. Well, now I can tell you Bark River knives are good. I have handled one. I have played with one. And my blood brother Micah had a Bark River. And I was very impressed with it. As far as the work tough gear, I don't have any experience that I can point to with that one. Justin, Jeff is seeing if you're still around. Or you done logged out doing something else? He may be on the phone talking to Pink, a good friend of ours. They get to talking every night. Jeff Conley, good night. Thanks for dropping in. Yeah, Mitchell, guaranteed to go through a car door. Car doors ain't that thick anymore. Prior to about 1970 or so, you see somebody take a beer can and crush it with one hand. That was a strong man. Today, a 5-year-old can crush that can. And cans changed over the years. I remember them old beer cans. And I can remember as a kid, remember you didn't have a pull tab, you had the church key. Okay. We would take a piece of string and push it down and fish it out the other side, stand on the can and tie it and walk like stilts on the can. That was a game us kids played. And we weighed 50 or 60, the kids weighed 50 or 60 pounds and could walk on a beer can and it not automatically collapse. Them days is over back when they had cans, you know. Buck 112, good evening to Rome, Georgia. Now, there you go, Sir Malcolm. I didn't know that Lynn Thompson had sold it. Huh. I met him at Blade Show. We were up there. He didn't know who I was, but I knew who he was. I just said, hey, shook his hand. Him and his little entourage were going by. Eddie, the dates for the October gathering are October 15th through the 19th. And am I taking orders for more Red Hawks? Not right now. I just got in the August run, just showed up literally today. I'm on when we get off of here, I'm gonna be labeling packages. They're going to the post office to mail out tomorrow. The September is supposed to be in here real soon. Jay is putting on his gathering, which is the Gather thing in West Virginia, next weekend. So he said that probably about a week or so after that, I will get the September. There's only like 4 or 5 people in the October run because we're kind of cutting it short because Jay's having a medical procedure done on his legs. And so we want to give him October to get back up to speed. So plan on probably middle of September. I'll take orders for November, and that'll give him a chance. So we'll jump. We got to do 2 months ahead. So yeah, just keep an ear out. I'll do an announcement, Eddie, and should be coming up in a week or so. I'll open up and do a video to open up for a run for November. And so we'll see what we can do. Okay. Cool. Mark Stewart, good night. Gray Wolf, correct. It isn't that big a deal to stab through a car door anymore. Now, how about you stab through a 1972 Ford's car door? Or how about a 1965 Chevy car door? I've seen them things stop 22 bullets before. So today's you can just take your thumb and pop a hole in a modern car door. Yeah, I can battle. Yeah, that's what usually happens whenever a company sells out like that. The person that had the passion that kept it going, And then who ends up with it? They're just making money. So sorry to hear that. True. It's all about metal and heat treat, and whether or not it can. When we were developing, William, me, and Dan Lutz were developing the WCSK. Behind the scenes, we tested that thing to ridiculous, and we were busting cinder blocks with it, literally. You know, bust cinder blocks to gravel-sized pieces and go to the next, because if you were trapped in this building and this building was on fire, could you get through a cinder block wall with it? Yes, the edge is damaged, but yes, it held up. It would keep busting. Dan Lutz nailed his when William told us to break it. I want to see what it takes to break it. Dan Lutz hammered his into this stump. So like half the blade was in the stump, and super hard piece of wood. And then big old 6'8", 400-pound Dan Lutz was taking a 15-pound sledgehammer, one of them industrial train sledgehammers, and was swinging it like a golf club and hitting that handle going brrring, you know, and it wasn't breaking. He finally did break it. It took him about 10 hits to break it. I never could break my prototype for him. William wanted us to break it so he could see the metallurgy inside and videotape it. He wanted to see what it took to break it. I never could break it. Dan broke it. Give it to the Sasquatch. He'll break it. But it was real effort for Dan to do it. And nobody sane would ever ask that of a knife. So it just depends on what it's being done and what its job is going to be. And the problem with a lot of them quote, quote, survival knives that they talk about, that you could drive it in a stump, throw a chain onto it, hook a pickup truck to it, and pull the world around. Yeah, they're super tough. They're blunt. They don't cut worth a flip. And if it ever gets dull, you'll never get it sharp again. So we had a lot of them back in the day. Yeah, exactly. Dan did. That was an old like 1960 something Buick. And he was pounding it through the door until he cut out a section like that of door of that car. And I mean, not on the next door over, his kids had shot that car with 22s, 22 long rifle, high speed. And they made hard dents that may have been a little peephole in it. I mean, this was hard steel to cut. And Dan hacked a hunk out of it. So, yeah, I mean, that was a car door. Gray Wolf, let's see, 5 and a 3 speed. 15 speed Road Ranger. Up there in your neck of the woods, to be honest, I'd go with a 5. 15 is better for open, long terrain because you got so many variations. It'll also drive you nuts going uphill having to shift up and down so much. So if you're wanting to do a lot of long running, the 5 and the 3 would be a better choice. If you're looking at something that's long and flat running, the 15 is a better choice. But that's my experience with big transmissions and stuff. I would take a 10 speed over a 13 or a 15 speed if I got to go through mountains. I really didn't want to have to gear up and down that much. And that's just my little 2 cents. Buzz, well, if you got one of them old Rambo knives, it might be a collectible now. You might want to put it on eBay. All of us had them. I had Rambo knives. I got them hollow handle survival knives. I tried all of them, you know, and that's what taught me a lot about what it ain't. You know, like I said, I started out with my grandmother's butcher knife. And then after that, I got busted with that and got in trouble. My uncle felt sorry for me and gave me a K-bar that he had carried at Guadalcanal, one of his knives. And that was my first good field knife, was a K-bar, and I used that for several years. And then I got me a big old Tremona Bowie, and I used that for several years. And then I went to other knives, and I had the Rambo knives and the hollow handle knives and the Randall military knife, and you know, I had bayonets. I tried all of it, you know. And if remember the old God, Gerber Mark 1 and Mark 2, that old wasp waist dagger. If it had serrations, it was Mark 2. If it didn't, it was Mark 1, that offset handle. It was a stabbing fighting knife. I had one of them too. Ain't worth a flip for filleting a fish with it. And it ain't worth a flip for making firewood with. But I thought it was cool, you know. And so you just got to look around and find. I tell people, we're about time for us to get off, but let me finish up with this. If you're getting into it and you're just not sure, get a Mora. Moras are a very reasonable price, and you get a really good piece of steel for the price. Practice with that. If you're going to screw something up, screw up a $25 Mora. You got a learning curve. When you think, hey, I'm getting this, I'm ready to upgrade, get you one of the Condor bush lures. Classic Bushcraft knife, does a great job, sharpen it up, good steel, about a $50 knife or less. When you're ready to grade up from that, go look at the Pathfinder knives out of the Pathfinder shop. They make a good knife for the price. And they're around $150 or less. You know, catch them on sale at the right time, you get what you want. Good, decent knife, really good handles, classic design, works well. I'm ready to go full length. Now I want a knife I'm going to pass down to my kids. Go talk to William Collins, get a WC knife. That's my little step of progression that I recommend to people. There's a lot of good knives out there, and I want something that is going to do the right job. Well, guys, I've enjoyed it. That's a little over an hour and 45 minutes. I think I'm on Mrs. Blackie has got kind of quiet, and I better go find out why, because quiet is dangerous when she's digging out of that closet, because Blackie may get off and ready to go to bed tonight and go walking in there, and he can't get in his side of the bed because she's organizing. Those of you that have been married a little while know what I'm talking about. So, guys, thank y'all so much. I really look forward to this, and thank y'all for tuning in. The game plan is I will be here next Thursday night. If we have a death in the family and I'm not able to, I'll try to post a video letting y'all know that we're not going to be on Thursday night. Otherwise, plan on me being there. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. God bless, and have a good night.